Well, morning, everybody. I didn't say good morning. It's just a morning. It's Monday. Man United beaten. Well, I said Man United beaten. Well, we didn't. Man United got beaten 2-0 by Spurs over the weekend. I was at a wedding. Big up to Ben and Christina for a fantastic wedding. Thank you very much. But the football was crap. And there's been a lot of fallout, a lot of overreaction, naturally, because it's Manchester United. But some of the reaction is pretty justified. So, you can see what I've said down here. This really is a serious week ahead for our football club. Manchester United are in need of multiple signings, but to try and just point to this and say, if we had a midfielder, then all those problems wouldn't have been there, that would be disingenuous, because there were problems from that Spurs game. Erik Ten Hag had some problems. A lot of those players had some problems. And I'm going to speak about all of those. We're going to have a little bit of an overview of the Spurs game. And then I will speak about transfers, because there's a lot to speak about. We still need, in my opinion, 2 central midfielders, probably a striker in an ideal situation. We probably still need 4 or 5 players to be leaving in an ideal situation. This week, we should be hearing about Mason Greenwood. Well, saying that, we should be hearing about Mason Greenwood every week for the last few weeks, and we haven't. And wow, the club has spectacularly mishandled that situation. And I'll speak about that. So there are a million talking points. It's been a busy summer, but with 10 days left, there is so much more to do and to talk about. And I'm going to do that this morning. Look at that for a boring intro. Good morning, everybody. Who's here from the member gang? Let's have a look. Carl, good morning to you. Ayo Deji, you're there. Teresa Sigmund. The Smee, how you doing, man? Paul Banforth. Saeed, we've got Ines Fushi. We've got Chetan, Stu, Josh, and Ant, you're there. Wayne, you're there. Chris, we've got T. Kuzu. We've got Anthony. We've got Sue. Luanda, who's on Facebook? Tony Davidson. We've got Anthony, Jacko, Chico, Snowden. We've got Martin, Svek, Ben Mogi. Good morning to all of you. And there are lots and lots more of you. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you had a good weekend. I had a great weekend. Apart from the footy. It was bad. I want to say commiserations to England's women's team. Yesterday in the World Cup final, beaten 1-0. Mary Earps tried her best. Man United's goalkeeper saving a penalty when England were 1-0 down. Lost my words there. I think I lose my words quite a few times today. Mentally, I'm not quite there yet. Ella Toon and Katie Zalem. Commiserations to all those 3 of those. But to get to a World Cup final, it's an achievement. Not quite as big as an achievement as they wanted it to be. But current European champions, and commiserations for losing that final. But let's speak about the football itself, right? Because not for the first time. Man United have been crap in the first 2 games of the season under Erik Ten Hag. Very different in the fact that a year has gone by. Loads of signings have been made. And there was a different feeling going into this season, from me anyway, compared to last season. I didn't know what to expect last season. And it kind of lived up to expectations. I remember calling it games 39 and 40 of the previous season. I remember that. And I hoped that this would be game 1 and 2 of a new, here we go, a different style, not a different style, but more towards what Ten Hag wanted it to be. But it wasn't. I want to, next 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking about what I would consider the major talking points after that game. And while I'm going to be speaking and focusing a little bit later in the show on transfers and the need of more players, because it's true. We do need more, right? It's not, look at Chelsea yesterday. It's been how much money? And they still lost 3-1 to 10 men West Ham with a midfield that cost them like 280 million. Sod knows how much. It's not always just about new signings being the solution. Man United do need more in midfield. Now, I'm going to go down and read a few of your comments out before we get into this. Devo, you're saying, Sam, the squad looked disinterested. Aiden, I needed a break from United content this weekend. My tolerance is on thin ice. Well, that's why I took Sunday off. I didn't take Sunday off because of that, because I was tired as hell. Rob, you're asking what's happened to Casemiro. Someone down there, Samra, going back to the Ragnick open heart surgery. What is it that he said that we needed? Like 10 players or so. Now, this is the Premier League table as it stands after 2 games. Man United down there in lowly 12th, but Spurs are in 5th. They're only 1 point ahead of us. You know what it is. First 2 games. What's your what do you think is the most striking thing about that table? Is there something that grabs your attention more? Or is it just the fact that United are down in 12th? Because there's one thing that I want to focus on, and in my opinion, was the biggest problem from that game against Spurs. So now someone sent a super chat there. Let me read this one out. Wayne, thank you very much, dude. You're saying, good morning, Sam. A lot of haters after a loss. I remember we always have a slow start, even under Fergie. We will come back. Hopefully a couple more signings. Keep up the good. Thank you very much, Wayne. Hey, look, there are issues. Inside that team, there are issues. Ten Hag's making some mistakes. Those players, I was speaking about that in this. As I said, it's not just about, we need a new midfielder and all of our problems will be solved, because it's just not true. But it's both of those things at the same time. And you just sent in a super chat. How you doing, bud? You're saying 3 issues: control, rhythm, and unpredictability. Well, the predictability of how poor United were in that second half. Man, United in second halves, I don't know. Brian saying last year we had 0. Andy, you're saying the same thing too. Better start than last season. But there's one thing that stands out to me, which is this, right? Can you tell me why you think this stands out to me? Brighton have scored 8 goals. Newcastle have scored 5 goals. And Man United have scored 1 goal. Why do you think, you can let me know in the comments, why do you think I'm putting that out as one of the big talking points? The thing that I think we should be focusing on first and foremost. I'm not saying there aren't other problems, but that's definitely the problem. Definitely the biggest problem I think we've got right now is this. Or maybe it is. No, it definitely is. Why do you think I'm looking at that? Brighton scoring 8, Newcastle scoring 5, and Man United scoring 1. Carl Jacob, you're the first one down there. Stephen and Kev, you're both saying we don't have a striker. But that comment there saying that we're not clinical is exactly what it is, right? Let's have a look at this. Only Brighton and Newcastle have created more big chances than Manchester United this season. Now, I don't know the exact definition of a big chance, but that Bruno opportunity, for example, against Spurs, is the definition of a big chance. Front of goal, 6 yards out, no one around him, spoons his header 10 yards wide. Brighton have had 9 big chances in front of goal. They've scored 8 goals. Newcastle have created 8 big chances in front of goal. They've scored 5 goals. Man United have created 6 big chances so far this season, and we've scored 1. That is the biggest problem. Now, Brighton scoring 8 goals from 9 chances created. That's some seriously clinical finishing. But Man United's finishing woeful in that first half against Spurs. That, for me, is the big focus point from that. And the good thing about that, the good and the bad thing about that is this, right? We've already got a solution to that in Rasmus Højlund. We've got a new striker in, okay? However, the thing that I'm worried about is this. When it comes to young players, bringing them into environments where they feel a little bit of pressure, to make them better, because pressure can be fuel as much as it can be a hurdle for some people. Bringing him into an environment where he's got a little bit of pressure is good. But we're going to now be bringing Højlund into an environment where United fans are starved of a clinical finisher. And the expectations on him to come in and immediately start scoring like 6 goals out of 8 shots it's an unrealistic expectation. And I do worry about that for him. But yeah, how staggering is that? Man United have created 6 big chances, got 1 goal. That was the big problem. And Bruno, well, he was a massive problem. Everyone was a massive problem in that second half for sure. Jonathan, I think that's a fair description there, saying it's not a bit of pressure, it's a cauldron. I know, that's what I mean. It's not the ideal environment for us to be bringing a 20-year-old kid in and hoping that he can nail it. I hope that we're looking at somebody and you don't know the mental strength of Højlund, and he's He'll be able to deal with it. But yeah, Old Trafford is a place, and it has swallowed up much more experienced players than Højlund before. But fingers crossed he can. Ildefonso, you make way too many excuses for Ten Hag. Like, dude, if there's anybody down here that wants to sort of throw Ten Hag's head on the chopping block, you may as well leave, lads. All right? Because I'm not going to do that. Because I analyze a full game. I analyze everything that's in front of me. And if you think I'm going to now start jumping after my manager, no. Will I criticize him in this comment? Yes, I will. I think he made some mistakes. Playing Rashford through the middle. Why are you doing it? Please don't do it. He doesn't want to play there. It's really quite obvious. Play him on the left wing. Play Sancho through the middle. He made a mistake there. But as much as I'm saying that the lack of a striker was the biggest problem. Okay, I'll split it into two halves, right? The lack of a striker was the biggest problem in that first half. But it wasn't the biggest problem in the second half. And I think it depends which, I don't know, you can argue which one's more important. But Man United's lack of application in that second half was, I would say, shocking. Not massively surprising because we've seen it. Was it Liverpool last season? Liverpool last season was, what was it? 1-0 we went in at half-time, then it ended up 7-0. Man United's midfield has been overrun, but everybody is getting overrun. Compare this. Man United, big up to United Arena, by the way. Some really good data they always provide on United games, and I think this is quite telling. I imagine this is probably going to be Ten Hag's focus. Ten Hag's focus this morning in training is going to be these exact 2 points that I'm telling you. One about that lack of a clinical finishing, but crap, that's not exactly something new, is it? I don't know how they sorted it. Just like, get your head in the game. Is it practice? I mean, soft nose. But second half, and this is the thing, right? An Erik Ten Hag team cannot be outworked in this way, right? Because it is a fundamental part of his philosophy and foundation. Work rate, pressing, high up the pitch, that sort of style of play. That can't be associated with a Ten Hag team. All right. And this one here, I think let's go full screen on this. So look, this is how many seconds there are between each high intensity run. So basically between a sprint and another sprint. So whether that would be sprinting forward or sprinting into space or sprinting to press, the lower the number, the better, right? In terms of that shows that the intensity of the game. Spurs. Wan-Bissaka, just over a minute between. We go down to the midfielders. Sarr. Mason Mount kind of like he was in the first game. His work so far off the ball, he's done the right things in terms of the effort and application, but he's just technically not been doing much whatsoever. Ten Hag wants this system of 3-1-6 in possession to work with one holding number 6 and two really pressing number 8s. So far, it's not. And look at that down there. Is that literally? No, nearly is literally twice the amount of per second. It's kind of a complicated thing. Anyway, Sarr made nearly 2 times as many sprints as Casemiro. Jordan, you're saying third super chat missed. I haven't missed any super chats, Jordan. I'm just mid-conversation, and I'll be going back to them. I see you messaging about missed super chats quite a lot. I don't miss super chats. It's just sometimes I park them in a different part of the conversation. So don't worry about that. You don't have to comment about that. All right. Forwards, Spurs. And you can go down here and see in terms of the look at that. Ten Hag there is just going to be furious. That's not down to Ten Hag's put the wrong team out, or Ten Hag's made the wrong subs, or this or that, or this or that. That's just down to individual application. Put the hard graft in, lads. Where was that what happened in the first half to the second half? What happened upstairs mentally for that to happen? Was it the goal went in and then shoulders went down? What would you say is the cause of that? And what would you say is a solution to that? because that for me is probably going to be the thing that Ten Hag is most annoyed about. I mean, he's banging his head against a brick wall if he's going to get annoyed about the poor finishing. It's the finishing's like, just get better. I don't know how many times. I don't know what else you can possibly say to improve our finishing, apart from signing a new striker, and hopefully Hoyland can do that. But what do you think about that lack of application in that second half? Because that was the biggest worry. Going to go down there and read a few super chats now. There we go. Jordan, you're saying it was my bad yesterday and still can't understand the way we played. No passion or motivation. What is going on? Hey, man, dude, this is what we're talking about now. This I think is the biggest worry from that game. I think you can worry about our lack of clinical finishing. You can worry about our midfield, which I think can be resolved with a couple of very smart and relatively low-price signings in the next 10 days. But that lack of applying Ten Hag's style, the real aggressive intensity of it, that's a real worry. Because a lot of these players are Ten Hag's players now. Jibak, you're saying our single pivot doesn't work. First game, Casemiro got left alone. Saturday, the average position. Why is our midfield three were on top of each other? No shape or structure. It's not working so far. Ten Hag wants it to work, but last season, Ten Hag wanted David De Gea to play out from the back with the ball. And it didn't work. So we started playing long, and then we won 4 games on the spin. I think Ten Hag's going to have to tweak a little bit until maybe he's got some different midfielders in there, because it's not working with this midfield three. Jordan, give it a ring. I apologize if I ever do miss super chats, but I really, really do. I'm going to go up and read a few of your other comments out now. Erik needs a hairdryer. Man, I'll only get you so far, man. Bruno is tired. Get him some rest. Bruno just had a summer off, man. He's fine. Mainly, is saying my worry is the team look jaded, uninterested, and not even doing off the ball work. The body language of our players was worrying. Quite a few people mentioning Marcus Rashford in this situation, which it was Marcus Rashford. He just looks disinterested through the middle, man. Marcus Rashford is somebody who loves to stand on the shoulder of somebody on the byline, run at someone, use footwork, beat that man, get the cutback, or have a shot himself. That's Rashford's bread and butter. That's Rashford's position where he scored 30 goals from last season. Ten Hag made a mistake there. And it's kind of a Ten Hag style of management, isn't it? Likes to trust his players. Didn't make any changes from the Wolves game. And I think that was a mistake. I think it should have been Sancho through the middle, and I think it should have been Rashford on the left. I think that felt quite an easy decision, but Ten Hag obviously really does trust, or he puts a lot of belief in trust. If you know what I mean. He puts a lot of belief in, I'll trust these players and they'll come through. And they did in the first half. As I said, I'll go back to it. Man United have been creating chances this season. The issue has been finishing. Both games, that first half performance against Spurs was good, in my opinion. I thought we created plenty. We had, I think, 12 shots. We had a couple of good, real, big opportunities. Didn't take them. Second half, Spurs came out. They scored. And they looked pretty good under Postecoglou. Fair play. But we deserved a goal in that first half. At least one goal in that first half. And look, I've gone nearly 20 minutes without mentioning it. So if anybody wants to try and say that I'm using this as an excuse, you can get in the bin. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing, well, I haven't seen anything. And who could possibly have predicted that Man United wouldn't get decisions on VAR after what happened last week? Oh, yeah, me. Everybody. Everybody knew it was going to come. Everybody knew. I said guaranteed Spurs get a penalty at the weekend. What I didn't say, well, maybe guaranteed that Man United don't get a penalty, which was an absolute, I mean, it's not even a conversation, all right? It's not even a debate point. It's just a straight up penalty. His arm was out like that when he dived down for the ball. Done. But this is now going to happen for the next. Something will probably happen in the Forest game. Now you might say, and I kind of always go back to this as well. Over the course of a season, say that again. Across the course of a season, decisions normally kind of level themselves out. But given that the reason I'm pulling this up is this. Last week, it was like the Spanish Inquisition. All the referees and the VAR officials all got taken off duty because Man United got a decision that maybe shouldn't have happened. Here, you've got a decision which clearly is utterly wrong and not a peep. Funny that. It's almost like United are treated differently. Seriously, we scarred too many childhoods, man, for 20 years. Because now that people can get revenge, they are getting revenge. They are getting a lot of revenge, and it's weird, odd. But yeah, that's no excuse for how United played. But it's just, isn't it odd how different United are treated in that sense? But that was a really frustrating game. That's now 2 performances. As much as I've got a tweet I did out yesterday. A tweet I put out yesterday, which I think is a good little final talking point here before we move on towards talking about transfers and Mason Greenwood as well. I said this, right? Let me pull this up. I think Ten Hag has made a lot of progress this year, right? Well, in the last 12 months. I think we have made a lot of progress. Getting into that top 4, winning that League Cup. There's a good feeling around the club. But I think the fact that after 2 games, we're in a very similar position to where we were last year. Last year, we lost to Brighton and Brentford. We panicked and we signed Casemiro and Anthony. This season, we need to sign more players after 2 lackluster performances to kickstart the season. And I think we will. I think in the next 10 days, we'll probably sign some players. If we don't sign some players, I'll be staggered. Because there are not only players available, the right profile of players, and cheap. It's like a win-win-win. And I'll speak about that next. But yeah, that's one thing that stood out to me. Because there's still so much more to do in these next 10 days. And that's what the rest of this show is about as well. I'm going to read a few more of your comments out around here. I keep saying random words that are wrong. And then I'll move on to the next talking point. How about we panic and sign Gravenberch and Amrabat? I'll be speaking about both of those soon. Don't worry about that. It's not even just about us. We've got one of the most exciting leagues in the world. It's being brought down by substandard officiating. But because the pace of the game has got so fast, it must be harder to referee because it moves so fast. That's why he brought VAR in, to help with that stuff. But even with it, you go, that's where the problem is. Maybe they need to go on a long run like last year. I don't think a little run after that game is going to be the solution. What is the goal of the system, says Matt. The goal of the system is very clear. Well, I think it's clear. It's about nice, tidy, neat build-up play through the middle, creating overloads in attack that therefore you can get a player in behind. When Man United lose possession, it's winning the ball back within 15 seconds, high up the pitch, pressing in small teams. It is obvious. You say it's not obvious, but it is. I can get it from the outside looking in. Maybe it's harder to get your head around that as a player. I mean, I'm sure it is. Steve, yeah, my brain's half dead this morning. It's been a busy few weekends for me. But from now on, I'm here until the end of the transfer. There's no distractions. So make sure you subscribe. If you can, just drop a like on the video. Hardly anybody does it still. Jack Stewart, how you saying? Managers plays 2 of the best players out of position. Who else is he playing out of position? I'd rather see Mason Mount a little bit further up. Martin, you gifted 5 memberships. Damn. Did I miss that at the start of the show? I think I did. I apologize about that. See, I didn't actually see that one. I did see that at the start of the show. People were commenting, but I got distracted. I'm sorry about that, Martin. Thank you very much, dude. It's only a little gong tickle this morning. It's only the tickle, not a full-on spank. This is a big week ahead, right? This is a really, really big week ahead. And I'm A lot needs to be done. And it starts with this. No, it doesn't start with that. It starts with this. It really starts with this. I don't know what to expect anymore with this, I'll be honest. I really, really don't know what to expect. I've made my position very clear on this, and I'm not up for a debate on it, okay? I'm not having one. So if you want to comment about that, well, you're not going to get one. It feels like Manchester United have continued to test the waters with all the little releases and all the little snippets that's happened. And it feels like Man United may even do another U-turn after last week when Adam Kraft and The Athletic released their confirmation that Richard Arnold had told staff that Greenwood would be coming back. And now we're hearing that there might be a U-turn. It's odd. It's weird. Nothing about it really sits right with how Manchester United have been dealing with it. And I don't care how bad Man United's attacking situation is up front. You think I want Greenwood back in my squad? No, I do not. Not even in the slightest. And you see this that was released from Adam Crafton again over the weekend, even more insight and detail into what the club have been doing. According to sources with knowledge of United's planning, who remain anonymous because they are not authorized to speak publicly. That's how journalist sources work, by the way. Anybody's like, oh, I just name it. No, that's not how journalist sources work. That's not how you do investigative journalism. If you name your sources, you will not get information. The club's preparations for Greenwood's return also included an assessment of the expected sentiment of external figures, listing individual football pundits, journalists, and politicians and stating whether they will be for or against Greenwood's reintegration. The planning divided those people into categories to the effect of supportive, open-minded, and hostile. The club's documents listed a series of domestic abuse charities assumed to be hostile. And it just makes you just sit back and go, wow. Wow. I stand by exactly what I've maintained all this way through. I hope he never kicks a ball for Manchester United again. But the staggering lack of decisiveness over this situation is a stain on our football club. A stain on Richard Arnold, pretty much. No matter which way this goes now, it's a stain on Richard Arnold and how he's handled it or hasn't handled it. And it's a, it needs to be resolved this week. And on top of that, we've got 10 days left at our football club to sort this midfield out, because this midfield needs to be sorted. There's no two ways about it. If Man United do not sign a midfielder or two, in my opinion, in the next 10 days, I don't think Man United have got a chance of finishing in the top four. I don't think that Man United have a chance at progressing from what we did last season, a top four finish and a domestic cup. I don't think we've got any chance of that. Gary Neville speaking after the game, he was saying this: Ten Hag wants a number 6 who can play alongside Casemiro. Right now, the club can't sell players to fund him. If they look at the first 2 weeks, they have to fund him or there will be big problems. What's clear is that Ten Hag does not want to go back to McTominay. And yeah, but he doesn't. But the issue that we've had for a long old time, where are the player sales? I remember speaking about this much back before we signed Onan. I think we only signed Mason Mount at this point in time. I said the thing that concerned me the most this summer was not really about the lack of striker that we hadn't signed yet or the lack of a movement in a goalkeeper. It was the sales. And the sales are just, they've been an issue all summer, and the sales still are an issue. Ten Hag confirming, Williams wasn't in the squad. Van der Beek wasn't in the squad. Ten Hag said, yeah, they're looking for something else. Both of these players need to be moved on. Erik Ten Hag also said that Harry Maguire wasn't in the squad to face Spurs because of her small illness. Okay. Nah, I don't believe that for 1 second. Harry Maguire needs to be sold. And I'm going to add Scott McTominay into that category now. I've always been of And I still am, I suppose. I'm of the opinion that if Scott McTominay was to stay, I think he could, in some way, shape, or form, be an asset to Manchester United this season. I wouldn't be completely upset if McTominay stayed. And I go back to when West Ham bid 60 million combined for Maguire and McTominay. I stood by the fact that that was a good decision, because it was. If afterwards Man United negotiated better prices and Maguire and McTominay moved on. Instead, West Ham have now gone on to sign, what was it, Mavropanos? I don't know. I think a Greek defender. I think he played for Arsenal before. They're going to go and sign him instead. And not a peep on McTominay. I would much rather Manchester United had 70% of what we could get, of what we think Maguire and McTominay are worth, than 100% of nothing. And that's what we've got. I'd rather have 70% of something than 100% of nothing. And what the worst case scenario here for Manchester United is 50 mil plus assets sitting on our bench and stinking out the place. So that's why I stood by the fact that Manchester United rejected that bid for both of them. But I don't know what we need to do. I don't know what we need to do here with McTominay, with Maguire. And look, there's other people involved as well. Dean Henderson. Crystal Palace might come and save the day with Dean Henderson, because the reason that we didn't sell him to Forest, because they had that. It's over a dumb. I don't know how you can't find a compromise on that, man. He was going to go on loan to Forest with the obligation to buy. And it was about that appearances. We wanted the obligation to kick in after 5 appearances. Forest wanted it after 30. You're telling me that we couldn't find a compromise for that in the middle? That's some stubborn-ass negotiating, man. That is not a good enough reason for a player of his value to stink out the place at Manchester United. Now, Crystal Palace might be coming in here, and maybe they're going to be taking him. But this is what I mean. There is so much more. You know, it's 33 minutes in, and I haven't had a conversation about a transfer. It goes to show you there are problems internally that still need to be resolved. But, as I said, we need midfielders. Tom, you're saying literally what I've said many times before. It's a bad window. There's so much more that needs to be done. This is a weird one. I would say take this with an absolute pinch of salt. A complete pinch of salt. Let me see what's going up over here. Let me see whether that's actually being said anywhere else. 1 second. Because I want to speak about Rafa Varane. And now what's being said about Saudi Arabia. Because I don't think this one's going to go anywhere. I don't think so. But it's kind of come as a bit of a surprise. I can't see anywhere else, by the way. So that's why I'm still sticking to take this with a pinch of salt. Varane is being linked with a move to Saudi Arabia, and so is Anthony Martial. Both of these are just, they're kind of whispers. They're Twitter whisperings, we'll call them. We'll call them for now. One to keep an eye on. I mean, Martial should have been sold all summer long. That's always been my opinion. And if Man United do get a decent bid for Martial, then great. I would love another striker. I always felt Marcus Thuram on a free transfer made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. I mean, if you think about Varane and where he's at in his career, he's just retired from international duty to focus on his football. How old is he now? Is he 30? I think he's 30. So look. 30. He's kind of at that point in his career now where you're looking at your last big contract. He could well be interested in that move. It would leave United short change, though, and that would be a problem. That would be 10 days left, and Man United, well, Kim Min-jae's already gone. Tadebo's obviously available, so technically you could sell Varane and bring in Tadebo, but it wouldn't be something that I suppose Erik Ten Hag had planned. Tom, thank you so much, my man. You just gifted 5 memberships. I apologize. I feel like if I sound a little bit subdued today, even the gong spanking is subdued because there is a little bit of a subdued feeling, isn't there? Now, I really hope that Martial, that offer comes in and we can spend that money, but geez, I'd rather Varane didn't leave this summer. My personal opinion. I think he's a very good centre-back. However, I've always felt that Varane is not physically capable of playing the 50, 60 game season every single week that is required at the elite level. In much the same way that I look at Casemiro, and I don't see a player who I think is physically capable of playing at the speed and intensity that is required at the absolute top level in the Premier League in the style that Ten Hag wants, where that number 6 is going to find himself isolated more often than not. That's why we need more midfield signings. But the Varane one, let's keep an eye on it. I would say just keep an eye on it. But there is one signing that I don't think we should be keeping an eye on. We should just be getting this done yesterday. When it comes to last summer, right? After we lost our first 2 games, we panicked. We crapped ourselves. We went out there. The De Jong deal collapsed. We went out there. We spent 70 mil on a 30-year-old Casemiro from Real Madrid, who I think was a good signing. But let's be honest, it's not exactly part of a massively long-term plan. 70 mil for a 30-year-old is a here and now solution, rather than somebody who's like been profiled and think, oh, in a few years' time, he's going to grow into be the best in the world. So I'm not saying that Casemiro was a bad signing, but I think it's fair to say that it wasn't part of a longer-term strategy for the next 5 years of the club. Ryan Gravenberch, he basically, like, at the start of the summer, you could have had him down as an ideal signing. 21 years old, profile is perfect, great ball carrier, great at bringing the ball forward, at recycling possession, at maintaining, controlling the midfield. Tick, 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 tick. He's played under Ten Hag before. Tick. Came in to replace De Jong at Ajax. Tick. Just like all sorts of ticks. Ticks them all. And we've seen murmurs and whispers. Mike Vivard from The Telegraph saying, look, United and Liverpool both interested in signing him. Samuel Luckhurst saying that we're considering a move. And Fabrizio Romano here saying, look, same thing as 3 days ago. Man United and Liverpool, they both called Gravenberch last week. Well, not even directly, but his agent. Dude, make this happen. This shouldn't even be a question. Shouldn't be a question. This should just be done yesterday. Because, and this is what makes it even better. Do you want another tick? Gravenberch would be available on loan. Bayern Munich won't just sell him outright, I don't think. I think loan for a season with an option to buy, maybe. Loan for a season, probably not with an obligation to buy, but maybe an option to buy. This needs to be done. No outlay required this summer, apart from the, sod knows, you know, you get loan fees now, don't you? So somewhere between, I don't know, 3, 5, 6, 7, sod knows. It won't be much. But Gravenberch in, massive upgrade to our midfield's ability to control a ball. We still can't do it. We still pass through the transitions too quickly. Goes from front to back too quickly. We just can't pass it through. We can sometimes, but not consistently enough. And it's the consistency which we need now. But if you get Gravenberch on loan, you can then still sign Amrabat for somewhere in the 25 to 30 million mark. And it's just like, you have to sit back and go, well, hold on here. So United could sell Scott McTominay for £30 million and effectively get Gravenberch on loan and Amrabat for basically that same price. If I had glasses, I'll be looking over the top of them like an angry teacher. That's not even panic mode. It kind of is. Well, I suppose we've got 10 days left. It is a bit of a panic mode, but that's just like, come on. Like, pull your finger out. Those two, for me, just looks like an absolute no-brainer. Gravenberch and Amrabat together, both of them. the logic is right there. It is right there. So many people talking about Mount in the comments and this and that. Mason Mount, I think, off the ball has been decent enough for United, but on the ball he's just not done anywhere near enough so far. And if you think I'm going to jump down a player's throat after 2 games, like, come on, man. Come on. Seriously. Let me see what you're saying down here. And you're saying I got slammed for suggesting going for Mount was the wrong move at the wrong time. I completely understood the profile of him. Ten Hag wanted another energetic number 8. Is Fred out and Mount in? That's an upgrade. However, Man United need more in that midfield. Casemiro he's found himself way too isolated in the system, man. And I pretty much know what happens in these next 10 days is going to define what happens this season for our club, right? It will absolutely define this season for Erik Ten Hag. And that's what my lunchtime video is going to be today. My lunchtime video is going to be, these are all the problems that I think Ten Hag has to fix in these next 10 days to set United up for the season. Because at one point in time, I can't remember. I don't remember when it was. At one point in time, I was like, well, this window's it feels like a bit of a 7 out of 10 at the moment. But if these things happen, I genuinely feel like it could be one of the best summer transfer windows we've ever had. I have to sort of pull that back a bit now because I don't think Gravenberch could easily have been done before we played both of these games. And we would have had more control in that midfield if we played with him. Amrabat has been available and sitting there basically wearing a Man United kit in his head for the last month and a half. And we still haven't got him because we're still waiting on player sales. Like Man United, lower your expectations now on what you can get for Williams, Van der Beek, McTominay, Maguire, Martial, and Henderson. 6 players there. 6 players just off the top of my dome who shouldn't be in our squad next year, who should all be sold. And if we're now only going to get maybe 70, hell, even 60% of what we feel they're worth, then sod that, take it. Because we're reaching a crunch point now. And we've been bottlenecked with transfers for the last 2 weeks now because of a lack of sales. Then the expectations have got to be lowered in terms of what prices we can get for those players because we just need to get them off the books. Right? We need to get them off the books. Someone was trying to call me out up here, so I'm going to go back up and I'm going to call them out. David Wright, Mount is definitely not an upgrade on Fred. He's a flop, just like we always end up with getting there. Recruitment is embarrassing. Well, hello, David. You're feeling pretty sprightly this morning, sir. Call him out a flop after 2 games. You enjoy yourself. See me at the end of the season. Then we're going to have a conversation. Invest saying, Sam, talk about Anthony. Anthony being kind of very Anthony in these first 2 games. Indecisiveness is probably the biggest frustration I've got with Anthony. Cut inside, hit the post with a decent effort in about a minute and a half after Spurs went 1-0 up. Pellistri again. Has Pellistri actually put in a bad performance in a United shirt yet? I'm genuinely not sure that he has. Every time he comes on, he just adds a directness and a confidence to go past a defender that they're kind of a bit shook by. They don't really seem to know what they're doing. Pellistri should have. Well, Ten Hag, and this is something I hope doesn't become a problem this year. It wasn't a problem last year, but it was certainly a pattern. Ten Hag really trusts players, even if they play garbage. He trusts players and he keeps them in, especially those that have links with Ajax too. Anthony being one of them. We've got a phenomenal option there in Pellistri, who clearly is going to be staying at the club this season, unless somehow Pellistri goes out on loan in the next 10 days, which I don't think he should or he will. He should be getting those starting opportunities. Anthony can't ever feel like, it's right, because he's not going to start. He's not going to start him over me. Let's do what I want. Every one of these players got to look at themselves, man. For me, the standout problems in those first 2 games, lack of good finishing. Physically, we were all at sea in that second half against Spurs. And some of those issues, they come down to Ten Hag in the starting 11, the selection that he had and he made, but also in the players up there. You cannot have an Erik Ten Hag team that is outworked like that, because it's such a fundamental part of his identity as a football team. It just can't be. Right. I'm going to go down here and see what you're saying in the comments. All right. Last 5 minutes of the show. You know what to do. Actually, I forgot about this one. Fabrizio confirming here that, what's his name? Odysseus Vlachodimos. Don't know why I did a Russian accent. I wasn't really Russian. Anyway, apparently he's being lined up as an alternative number 2 because we're looking at Dean Henderson leaving. We need another goalkeeper in. Maybe he'd be number 3. Maybe be number 2. Don't know. But Vlachodimos from Benfica. I need to look at his game, understand that a bit more. Not really a player that I know much about. You'll be surprised. But United are looking at another goalkeeper. So honestly, I still feel it. I think United should be getting 4 transfers done the next 10 days. Backup goalkeeper. Yeah, there's one. Not 1 central midfielder, 2 central midfielders, and another striker. That's what we need. That's 4 signings we've got to make in the next 10 days. 4 signings and 6 sales in a dream. Will it all happen? Probably not. Definitely not. Should it all happen? Absolutely. Because they all need to be done. It might be a lot to do, but sorry, you should have worked harder and quicker in this summer then, and it wouldn't be a problem now. Let me see. I did it. Sounding more like a meerkat accent. Yeah, there you go. Sam, Chelsea lost yesterday. I can't revel in how crap Chelsea are as much as I want to, because United are playing crap. So it's like, don't throw stones in glass houses sort of thing. I'm not of that vibe. If you want someone like that who just like trolls people 24/7, even if they shouldn't, you're probably going to be subscribed to the wrong channel. So I'm not about that. Yeah, that was a really frustrating defeat against Spurs. It really, really was. Especially given how fairly competed the first half was. Spurs had their chances. We had plenty of chances. Just didn't take them. And as is the case, I mean, I don't know. It happened in so many games last season, I can't even remember. But somewhere in the region of 10 to 20 games last season where Man United had so many clear-cut chances and we were like, oh, wow. How has that result happened there? That's what happened in that first half. Second half, we deserved to lose. Spurs completely dominate us. And that's a worry. Ten Hag's got to sort that. Sam, have your expectations changed after the first 2 games? They've not changed, Jake, but I do genuinely feel that what happens this season are genuine expectations of what United can do this season is going to be defined by the next 10 days. That includes the Greenwood decision, all the player signings, all the player sales, and other problems that are internal, more inside the club already, that Ten Hag has to manage and coach out of the team. And all that's got to get done in the next 10 days. It's a lot of work to do, man. Dave, you're saying midfield has been poor so far. Do you think that Højlund alone is enough? Is Erik Ten Hag looking for a bargain striker? Dave, thank you very much for the super chat, dude. I hope not, right? Again, we're talking about ideal situations here. Ideal situation, we sell Martial. We can then fund another striker in the region of 30 million-ish. That's a little bit more experienced, that we could probably rely on scoring somewhere between 10 and 20 goals across the course of the season, that can then help Højlund. I don't know who that striker is, but that's an ideal situation. It's not going to be Kolo Muani because he's way too much. It has to be someone a little bit cheaper than that. We won't last 5 minutes in the Champions League, says Russell. It's been a disaster class in the first 2 games. The first half against Spurs was not a disaster class, apart from in front of goal. The second half, and about 90% of the first game of Wolves, yeah, they were absolutely woeful. And that needs to be sorted. Look, I'm gonna wrap this show up now. I've been doing United People's TV and the website, The People's Person, for long enough to know that I can see the peaks and the waves and the ups and downs of United fans' sentiment and how everyone's feeling. There's a lot of frustration after that game. my video today is going to be what I would consider the solutions to those problems. And if Man United can do that in the next 10 days, I think it will change the course of how this season goes. I don't know whether I trust United to do that. In fact, I don't trust United to do that. But it's definitely true. But thank you all for tuning in. If you can, drop a like on the video. I need to go and have a nap. I had hardly any sleep over the weekend, and I had to do a 3-hour airport round trip this morning. But Susie and your mum, Jill, I hope you have a great time in Italy. And I'll speak to you tomorrow. I'll be live at 10, and my lunchtime video is going to go out. It should be out before 12 today because we want to get it done nice and early. Take it easy, everyone.